Hello and welcome to the Soul Sync podcast. I'm Jason Paul. Now, brace yourselves for a soul-expanding episode featuring a truly extraordinary guest, Vince Kramer. When I spoke to Vince on this episode, I was blown away by his story, his spiritual awakening, and how he's gone on to become a channel for the spirit world. His story is nothing short of extraordinary, and I'm sure you'll find this conversation as interesting as I did. So a bit about Vince's backstory. He's a seasoned airline pilot, also a military veteran, and he's a transformational trainer, mentor, and a clear, conscious channel, bringing a rare blend of experiences to a world of personal growth. What really sets Vince apart is his background in a stereotypically macho field, infusing a unique perspective into the softer realms of transformation and purpose-driven growth. Vince is not just a speaker and a mentor, he's also a best-selling author alongside his wife Mary. They penned the transformational collaborative memoir, Awakening Through Moments of Choice. The book delves into Vince's and Mary's quest for a deeper understanding of life's essential meanings, connection and love. Their stories will not only inspire you to re-examine your own life, but will also encourage you to find your unique individual connection to the answers of life's most pressing questions. Now, as the co-founder of Imagine Miracles, Vince passionately believes that everyone holds the power to be a creator of their own life. Vince's mission is quite simply to inspire and empower individuals and their families to discover success and happiness by designing and creating a life fueled by their deepest desires. So get ready for a transformative experience as Vince Kramer takes us on a journey that transcends boundaries. So Vince, firstly, a big welcome and thank you for joining me on the Soul Sync podcast.
Oh, Jason, it's such an honor to be here. I can't wait to get in deep and share with the audience.
So even in your intro, Vince, you've done a lot of different things and I spotted a couple of similarities. I was in the police, you was in the military, and you've gone on this journey. Tell us firstly about how you've gone from being in the military to having the profound spiritual awakenings, which we described in the intro. Tell us a bit about you so the audience can get to know you.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about it is that at 5 years old, I told my grandmother that I wanted to help people love themselves so they could love each other, which is pretty profound for a 5-year-old. A matter of fact, I don't even remember saying it. My grandmother reminded me of it on her deathbed when I was 17. But then what happened shortly after that, I think for many men, I'm not going to say all, and I'm a little bit older than a lot of people that are probably listening, but I think across the board, we still teach young boys what it means to be a man, or how they have to show up to be successful. And my story really started with three significant men in my life: my father, my grandfather, and a neighbor. But my grandfather was probably the most, let's say, forceful of, I had to learn to be a man his way. And he taught me to compete, to be better than everyone else. Good was never good enough. All these things that through my life, I was very successful at many things that I did, but there was always just something missing in my life. And the answer was, because I learned from Grandpa, well, I must need a better job, or I must need to get more people in my life, or I need to make more money. And that was going to be the answer. And what I found was, the deeper I got into all of it, the more I found out that I didn't know who I was anymore. And it was some pretty big wake-up calls that happened in my life that got me to start looking at, okay, well, what really is missing in my life? And what I uncovered was it was me.
Right.
And that was an interesting journey just to uncover that.
It sounds to me like there was a lot of build up, like it was almost like a pressure cooker. You were trying to, maybe I need to be more successful. Maybe I need to do more of this. And eventually I'll get to this pinnacle moment that you thought that you would be happy. It sounds to me that there was a moment that's sort of woke you up to a lot of different things. Tell us about that.
Sure. I'll share the three big ones.
Okay.
Um, First of all, at Imagine Miracles, we teach that we're all getting messages and promptings all the time. And those messages and promptings come in different ways. And what we get initially is what we would call conscious wake ups. Those are the times that, oh, I know my life should be better than this. I'm doing everything I was told to do and I should be happy. Those are all conscious wake ups. And if there's somebody to help us, if there's a coach or somebody in our family or a friend to say, hey, this is a wake up for you, we can move into finding who we are and why we're here a little bit faster. But I wasn't one of those people. I didn't have anybody to say to me, hey, this is a message for you. So the first wake up call I had was 9/11. I lost a good friend on Flight 9/11. He was the captain of Flight 93. And I actually flew Flight 93 1 week prior. So if it was 9/4, I would have been the smoking hole in Pennsylvania. I was a United Airlines pilot for 28 years. But Grandpa taught me so well, it was like, well, I would have never done that. I would have found a way to be better than that. Da, da, da. And I just blew it off fairly quickly. Not as quickly as everybody else in the world blew off 9/11, but I did get to a point where, okay, I got back into the same old routine. Life started happening again. And then about, I guess it was just a couple years, 2.5 years after the 9/11 incident, where United Airlines went bankrupt. And it was because of 9/11 this all happened. But I lost 60% of my pay. I lost all my retirement. I downgraded in my seat, so I wasn't making as much money there either. And it was my dad's voice that came into my head. You're supposed to have a retirement, and if you don't have a retirement, what are you going to do at the end of your life? And it's most important thing for you is to take care of your family financially, the way they become accustomed. And I blew off that wake up. And what I did was I went out and bought a couple pretzel stores. That was going to be my retirement. I was going to do my full-time job during the day. I was going to make sure I hired the right managers and make my retirement back in the pretzel world. And are you familiar with Dr. Atkins?
I am not, but tell us about Dr. Atkins. This sounds like a franchise model, but...
Dr. Atkins came out with his book on how carbohydrates were bad.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I understand the premise. So that wasn't good for the pretzel business, Vince.
No, not
I
at
imagine.
all. The stores took a dive pretty much right away. And I just worked my butt off, if you will, for 3 years to try to build it back up, get people to go beyond Dr. Atkins and the stores to be profitable again. And while that was happening, my ex-wife had an affair. And the divorce that ended up happening because of the affair was the real wake up for me. I finally paid attention that I had to figure out how I wanted to live life, how I wanted to be happy, and what was missing. And like I said, it was me.
One thing that I really kind of picked up on through your story was what had been kind of ingrained in you as a child, and what you might say, might be a macho kind of role, that you've got to do this, you've got to be successful, you've got to provide, this is what you should be doing. It was so ingrained in you, even when there was a wake-up call as big as kind of 9/11, you still managed to somehow consciously move on from something that extraordinary. And I think you have to take a moment to just realize. I do remember, I must say, about I remember the Atkins diet now. I think it was one of those things I've disregarded as not being relevant. But so you got through this divorce and you kind of arrived at this place. And how did you kind of move forward from there? Because it sounds to me that you were coming up to a mighty big sea change, and everything that you thought was real over a long period of time, suddenly you're questioning that. How did you move forward from that point?
Well, the best part about it was it hurt so bad that I couldn't help but pay attention.
Right.
So there was no option after that point that I had to figure out what it was that I had been looking for all my life. And I remembered my grandmother told me on her deathbed that I was here to help people love themselves so they could love others. And the interesting thing was my ex-wife was she was always listening to a cassette tape series from Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack had a series called, I think it was Success in Peak Performance. And my ex-wife was always listening to that. And because we couldn't find a way to go to counseling, I thought, well, I'll get her this 7-day workshop with Jack Canfield and get one for myself, and we'll be able to, get back on the same page and hopefully work everything out. Unfortunately, though, she said she would love to go, but she wasn't going to go if I was going to go.
Right. Okay.
And I was at that point in my life, Jason, that I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to go. So you either need to decide to come and I'm there, or you don't come. And she didn't go. But during that workshop, that 7 days with Jack, he led us through a guided meditation to help us find our purpose in life. And that guided meditation really, really got my attention. It showed up in a way and at the right time. And I heard in my head, this is why you're here. You're the one that's missing in your life. The gift that I got in that meditation was a golden microphone. So I had to figure out what all that meant. But now I've got my own podcast. I'm on podcast. I'm teaching and sharing from the stage. So I understand now what the golden microphone was all about. But at the time, I didn't. So that finally got my attention. But, it was very interesting. I started to live by Jack Canfield's rules. And I wanted to be on stage like Jack. I started writing a book called Zero to Mach 1, Accelerating Your Success. A pilot book, right? To use my experiences to sell. I started to build workshops, and I realized that I still wasn't happy when I was doing that. And then it clicked. It's because now you're living just by another set of rules. You got to find your rules.
And I think that leads kind of nicely on. So you've got 35 years experience in training and coaching people in leadership, personal growth and transformation. And you co-founded this company, Imagine Miracles, with your now wife and business partner, Mary. Tell us about the business and firstly, what it actually does.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. So the Jack Canfield world was, shall we say, personal growth and self-help. And when Mary came back into my life, that's a story for another time. But when Mary came back into my life, she started talking about spirituality. And I grew up Catholic. So some of the things she said was right in alignment with all the religion that I had. And some of the other things, it was like, oh, I'm not quite sure that's the way it is. And so she, in sharing the spirituality in the way that she was, we're all one energy. If I do something, it affects you. If you do something, it affects me. Yet I started doing research, and I went to science to prove me right.
Right. Okay.
And the deeper I got into science, the more I proved that spirituality and science walks hand in hand. Quantum physics says the exact same thing that Mary was sharing with me. So I started to, I really need to pay attention here. And then the spiritual part of it really hit for me. And I started to be guided towards what I was supposed to do, how I was supposed to show up. So the first thing that happened was I wanted to learn and grow into who I was supposed to be so much that I started buying all these programs to go to workshops and seminars, like we all do. We want to get better. We want to grow. We want to expand. And one of these programs that I bought, somebody just said, you need to go to this, Vince. I didn't even know what it was, and I bought it. And it was for like a year down the road. And Mary and I had started dating in the meantime. And the night before I went, she called me up and said, I'm up in Aspen, Colorado. Come up and visit, hang out with us. And I said, Mary, I've got this 5-day seminar I'm going to. And she said, I really want you to come up. So I went up to Aspen, and we had a couple margaritas. What margaritas leads you down the path of accepting a lot of things. And Mary and I were intimate. And after we were intimate, she said, Vince, I see this woman standing next to you. I see this energy. And she described this energy, and she described my grandmother, Jason.
Wow.
Mary never met my grandmother. I didn't even talk about her, but she described my grandmother perfectly. And then right after that, she said, I also see this little blonde girl standing next to you. And she described the length of the girl's hair, the white blouse that she was wearing, the blue dress that she was wearing, the patent shoes. She described her completely. And I had enough to drink that, okay, yeah, that sounds really cool, and I asked some questions, and Mary answered however she could. And then a few hours after that, I was on the road to get on an airplane to fly to Vancouver for this 5-day event. And the event was called Illumination Intensive. And during the 5 days, from 6 a.m. till midnight, all you did was answer the question, tell me who you are. So you would sit in a dyad, knee to knee, and for 10 minutes, somebody would say, tell me who you are, tell me who you are, tell me who you are. And you would answer with whatever came in for you, whatever popped in your head. And then at the 10-minute point, you'd switch and you'd ask the other person. And when you were asking, all you could say was, tell me who you are, and then thank you after the answer. Well, this was 5 days, 18 hours a day in these dyads. And 5 times during that 5 days, somebody said to me, do you know there's an energy of a little blonde girl with you? And I would say, tell me what she's wearing. And these people described exactly what Mary had described to me. Wow. So it was definitely a pay attention moment from me. Guidance was truly saying, hey, pal, pay attention to what's going on here. So I rushed home. At the end of the 5 days, I didn't go to the 2 hours where they close your heart down and you can go back out into the world without being so open. I went straight home. Mary and I got together. We went for a walk. She was telling me a little bit about the blonde girl. I was asking her a lot of questions. And she said, I learned about the little blonde girl in a channeling. So I had no idea what a channeling was. Matter of fact, when she said a channeling, I said, do you mean like crystal ball? What do you mean? Tarot cards? And she said, no, a channeling where someone lets the information come through them and you can actually talk to your guides, the higher vibrations of our guides. Well, at one point I had made a decision. I'm going to try everything. And if it doesn't work for me, I'll just throw it out. So I said, I want one of these channelings. So she set this channeling up for me. I went to the channeling, a very nice lady. She was very kind. She explained what channeling was all about. She said, I can channel for you 3 ways. I can be a full channel, just let the energy come through and you can have a conversation with the energies just like you are me. Or I can get the questions from you and then tell you what they tell me the answers are. Or you can ask the questions and I'll tell you what they share with me. So the last two are very similar. And I said, I want the full thing. If I'm
Of
here,
course you do. Yeah.
yeah, I want the whole thing. So we go back in this back room. I watch her facial features seem to change a little bit, or posture changed a little bit. And she started talking to me in a deeper voice. And that voice introduced themselves as Archangel Michael. And for, I don't know how long, the total channeling was like 2 hours. But Michael was sharing with me, this is what happened in your life. This is why it happened. This is why you chose your parents. Just giving me all this information on why I was where I was at in the point of my life. And then
was it accurate?
While,
did it 2 hours of that information to you?
Yeah, there was 4 different energies that came in that
Right.
2 hours. So I don't know how long it was for Michael, but Michael said, and there's others here that want to talk to you. Are you interested? And of course, I've been justifying all along. Mary told her this, Mary told her that. So I was able to justify everything this lady was doing, either she was a great actress, or Mary gave her information about me. And then this new energy came in, and the face seemed a little more jovial. The posture changed, kind of leaned in, and the lady started talking, and the voice was a little bit higher pitched, still deeper, but still a little bit higher pitched than Michael. And this energy introduced itself as Archangel Raphael. And Raphael said to me, you are here to open hearts. But to open a heart, you need to open yours first. And I'm going to do it with red-haired, blue-eyed people. Well, I justified again. Mary's oldest son's got red hair, blue eyes. Mary knows that there was 3 people that had come into my life that had red hair and blue eyes. So I was justifying it. And then Raphael said, as an example, do you remember walking through Walmart last week, and a little boy stood up in his stroller, and that little boy wouldn't take his eyes off you as you were walking by? And then he fell out of his stroller, and his mom caught him just before he hit the floor. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, that little boy had red hair and blue eyes. Well, the mother knew, the little boy knew, and I knew. And at that point, it's like, holy crap, I have got to pay attention to what's going on right here. And that started me on a journey of really digging into science, really digging into spirituality. And these voices, God, Ra, the sun god, came that day, and a female energy that was a red energy came. And at the end of the channeling, Archangel Michael came back in and said, you are here to build programs, and we're going to help you do it. And you're going to hear voices in the middle of the night, and you're going to be awake. But we want you to close your eyes. We want you to look up. And if you see blue, it's me, Archangel Michael. If you see green, it's Archangel Raphael. Yellow is Ra, the sun god. Red for the female energy. And at that point, information just started coming in, and it came in for years.
Wow.
All around Imagine Miracles, helping people find the reason that they chose to come to Earth. Helping them navigate this world that we live in, because we had to forget, and in our forgetting, we develop some beliefs, and we develop some subpersonalities that kind of hold us back. So all this information started coming in, and then one day, after a few years, Mary said, Vince, you got to stop doing this, because I had started flying night flights for United. And she said, you can't wake up one night, be awake for a couple hours, get a couple more hours of sleep, then fly that very night, an all-night flight. You just can't do it. Would you consider trying to channel? And I told her no. There was no way. I didn't feel, first of all, who am I to channel? Second of all, what if the information comes through and I mess it up? All of these reasons, I told her no. And then finally, after a year, I agreed to try channeling. And it was really difficult at first. But then as the energies start coming in, they shared because of who you are, because of the way that you can get out of the way, you can be a very powerful channel, and then it just went from there. So we built a company around the information that came in, and we partner with this group that calls themselves the Round Table that comes through me to share the information.
What an incredible story. And isn't it interesting that even at the point where you was getting the archangels coming through, there was still just that element of doubt, and then it was there was no way at all that you could deny that. You know, you were given a sort of undisputable evidence. So you are now a channel where people are coming to you. Just try and explain to people how, first of all, they can channel. What do you do to kind of get into that state and be a channel? And what's the experience like to you? And what are other people experiencing when you are channeling?
Okay, sure. First, I think everybody's different. So
Hmm.
I'm just going to explain my way. One of the first things when I started channeling, and Mary asked me, would I channel for someone else? I said that I didn't want to channel for someone else because I might screw up the information that comes through. And then the round table, when they came through one time, they told Mary that they would make sure that I didn't get in the way of the information. So what I did was I connected to those energies, and I connect through something that I learned from a lady who founded Finhorn, and what she shared was connecting at different levels. So what I do is I say in my mind, I'm opening a coning, and I just see my upper chakras opening up, or my upper energy centers opening up to accept the information in. And then I connect with my higher self, that non-physical part of me, and I wait to feel that shift in my body. Then I connect with my I am presence and wait for that shift. And then I finally connect with the round table. So the round table calls themselves that because they want us to picture, just like King Arthur's table, we're sitting at a round table, they're equals with us. And when I channel, so let's say I was channeling for you, I don't channel my guides if I'm channeling for you. I channel your guides and your higher self. So each time I channel, it's a little bit different because it's the different energy streams.
How, because obviously what you had was this self-limiting belief that initially you didn't want to do it because the inner critic in you was, it's not going to work, it's not going to be right, almost kind of back into that mode of you being the all things to all people. How, when you started channeling, was it quite, did you get into it? Did it take you long? How long did it take you to kind of fully feel that you were receiving information from a higher source?
Oh boy, two questions there.
I just can't stop, Vince. I've got so many.
So the first question that you ask is, how was it and how long did it take for me to start channeling? It was very difficult. When the energy started coming through, my throat would tie up, and the vibration was just too much, and I would cough and hack, and it would take sometimes 5-6 minutes for me just to allow the energy to come through. So that process, I would say it was like 6 months before the coughing was only a minute or so, and it was probably another 6 months to a year before the coughing stopped altogether from the difference of the energy of who I was and the energy coming through. I just couldn't accept the high vibration that was coming through. As for starting to believe, I started to believe right away because um, at that point, and most times when I channel at such a high vibration that I don't remember what's coming through. But Mary takes notes. I mean, we give a free channeling away every month to whoever wants to show up on the third Monday of the month. And Mary still takes notes for me, or we record and I listen to the channelings, or she tells me what was part of the channeling. So I know what the information that's coming through. Now, I totally believe that as this information comes through me, my cells are being encoded with the information, but I don't know it. I don't remember most of the time what's being said.
How do you kind of interpret it? Is it your mind is they are just literally going through you and using your mouth and your voice, and that's why the voice is, you were struggling with it at the beginning because of that shift?
Yeah, I think they use my brain. I think they use my words because they use the vocabularies that I am familiar with. So it's kind of like the energy just comes in. It's just like everything else, right? When we see the vibrations coming in, it goes through our eyes to our brain. Our brain interprets it, and it comes out. I think it's very similar. The energy comes in. The words are formed around the energy that comes in, and it comes out my mouth.
Wow.
So I think it happens that way.
Okay. And obviously you've been on a massive journey to get here, and you've had lots of people cross paths with you. What, in your view, are the most important questions in life that everybody should explore for their growth and their spiritual development?
They're the two biggest asked questions in the world. Who am I and why am I here? Those are two huge questions. We've got a formula that I put together that we use in many of our courses, and it's called the Your Unique Purpose formula. Mm-hmm. And I designed it with the help, of course, of the roundtable to understand, first of all, as an energy, before we ever came to Earth, we chose to come here. And we chose what we call your divine intent, the reason or the mission that you're here, what you're going to deliver to people to help them on their journey. And because of the fact that we chose that, then that's where the soul agreements and stuff start coming in. Why did you choose your parents? Because they were going to help you develop the beliefs that you needed to develop your gifts and talents to share with the world. Why did another reason you chose your parents? Because the graphical or the geographical area was also going to give you more to help you grow and expand through all of it. So as we put the formula together, there's three parts to your purpose. We're always looking for our why, but it's the who of who we are. So our quintessence, the energy that we naturally are, that we just shine out in the world, we can't even help it. We try to hide it a lot of cases, but it's a light, the light from our heart. The second part is what we call your gift. That's the combination of gifts and talents that you've delivered through your life and the process that you developed to share your gifts and talents is your gift. And that's how you make the difference in the world. Mm. And then the final part, your divine intent. And we call it your divine intent because it was the intent you came into the world with, and divine because you're in the fullness of source energy. You're the fullness of universal energy when you set that intent to come to Earth. So those three parts are really big, but then also, how do you live that purpose now that you know it? So that's the fourth question. And then the fifth question is, where am I? So you have an origin. You have to know where you're starting. And when we do our where am I portion of our program, it's about what's the beliefs that you have, and Why have you lived the life you've lived up to now? And now how can you change your beliefs? How can you reframe them to move into who you are? Who are those subpersonalities? When were they formed? How old are they? What are they protecting you from to help you go on down the journey? So that's the fifth question. So the five questions: who am I? That's to find your quintessence. What do I have to offer? That's your gift. Why am I here? That's your divine intent. How do I live my purpose now that I know it? And where I am in this moment. So I have my origin for my journey.
And you make it sound so simple, but that is literally a life's work there. Some of the biggest questions we all find ourselves asking, and I'm sure the reason why a lot of people have landed on this podcast in the first place. One thing that I wanted to ask you, you talk about kind of the importance of living your true life, your purpose, but one of the big things that you've obviously sort of come up against is society's expectations of being a male, or having all these expectations. What advice would you give to people, or perhaps even your younger self, about, trying to be, your own person in a world where there is so much expectation, even social media? We live in this world of endorsement. How do you think one can kind of shift away from those expectations and social, societal expectations even?
Yeah, such an excellent question. First of all, I had to accept that we all have these gifts and talents, and we all have the ability to tap into this guidance. And it's just because we don't know. It's just because we haven't been taught. It's just because society as a whole looks down on it. So first, I had to accept the fact that, okay, yes, I'm getting this guidance. And one of the things then we do in our Take a Quantum Leap program is teach people how to get their very own guidance, because I can't give you the answers to your purpose. You have to find them yourself. So we found several different ways to help you get that guidance, to actually have that conversation with your guides, to have that conversation with your higher self. So now I'm at that point, and it's like, I know it's not a lie. I mean, the little blonde girl showed up. Mm-hmm. I know it's not a lie because a little redhead boy. So I had to believe, but then it's like, well, I'm an airline pilot. I can't be getting on the mic and saying, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Last night I was talking to Archangel Michael, and we're going to have a good day today." People would probably get me hauled off the airplane, breathalyzed, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. So I had to go in stages and steps, and I had to, first of all, accept it was coming in and realizing, oh, okay, I wouldn't have shared this information with myself. I didn't even know the information that's coming in. So it helped me believe more and more in what I was doing. And then when I uncovered my divine intent of raising the vibration of the world towards joy, one of the first things that I believed was, okay, I've got to quit my airline job because I'm not living my divine intent. And the roundtable came in with a challenge, and Mary asked them a question. And one of the things they said was, every time I get out of the seat after a flight and stood in the doorway and smiled at people and thanked them for flying with me and shared my light, I was raising the vibration of the world towards joy. And in that realization and understanding how important it was for me to truly deliver my divine intent, just like it's important for all of us to do that, I started to trust myself more and more. And then I started just blurting it out on Facebook a little bit, or something out on Instagram a little bit. And I told some of my friends what was happening. And some of them are no longer in my life.
It happens when you start on this journey, doesn't it? It's the same as happened to me, Vince. Tell us about your book, because you've put together a book called Moments of Choice, and it's by both you and Mary, who've co-authored it. Tell us a bit about the book.
So it's called Awakening Through Moments of Choice.
Hmm.
And the book is what we would say an educational memoir. So I think one of the reasons that um, part of my gifts is to channel and to share this information, because here's a 6'5", 240-pound military pilot, airline pilot, football player, sports everywhere. And I think that to break the mold of what kind of person would channel, or to break the mold of who can download or who can get information, I think I think that was part of the reason I raised my hand and said to come to Earth. So, but it's still very challenging for people to accept. And the book was meant to tell my story through my and Mary's eyes, and to give much of, if not all of, the information in a very broad sense of what I've learned on the journey, and how I awakened, and how I stepped fully into the three parts of my purpose, and how channeling came about, and how I believe that we all can channel our information and get our answers. So the book was written to one, reach out to the population and say, look, this is the secret of living your divine intent on Earth. And yes, you can do it, because here's this man that nobody in a million years would think I was channeling information in, and it's okay. So that's what the book's all about.
What gives you the greatest satisfaction in your work now? And does it feel like work, Vince?
Well, it definitely doesn't feel like work.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that if each and every person was living their divine intent, they would be in the highest vibration of who they are,
Mhm.
and the world would be so much different. Um, and I also had to realize, and this is something that I share quite a bit, a balanced life doesn't mean that you spend this much time in your body, this much time in your relationship, this much time on work, this much time here. I think a balanced life is, am I in the highest vibrations from what I'm doing all the
Mhm.
time? Am I attracting those relationships that support me in living my divine intent fully? Am I truly making a difference in the world? I think that's what a balanced life is. And when I finally got that, then it's like, why life's not work.
Yeah.
If I want to go down and get on the computer because something came into my head, and I want to share it through a small program or whatever, boom, I can go downstairs at 8 o'clock at night and work till 10:30 to get the information out, because it's me living me in the world. And I think that's so big and so important for us to realize and follow the calling. You asked me about my the moments I love the most. I in our class, Take a Quantum Leap, I bonus each person an hour coaching. And in that hour coaching, we uncover the three parts of their purpose. And we uncover it in a statement for each part, so they can relate to it. And when I see the aha moment, or when I see the tears in their eyes, or the relief set in because, I know I've been called and I didn't know what to, that is the most exciting moment ever for me. And then the second most, in our year-long program, we teach people how to create with their thoughts and feelings. We teach them the concepts of quantum physics and how to bring your five senses into your creation process. And when I get a phone call saying, "Oh, you're not going to believe this. I went through the meditation that you shared the other night, and I used everything that you told me, and this person popped into my life. And I knew immediately that they were supposed to be part of my life going forward. It's like, oh, that's a moment that just takes your heart.
Vince, you've got such an interesting story, and we could talk for at least another hour, I'm sure. If people want to find out more about you, the book, and indeed Imagine Miracles, where can they go to?
So the easiest place, I'll make it easy because I really love what you're doing, Jason, and how you're showing up in the world, and the fact that, you know, you've already got an audience that wants to hear this stuff. If they go to imaginemiracles.com/soul-sync, there'll be a link to get the book on Amazon. I'll give a free Your Unique Purpose blueprint, so you can download the blueprint that we use in our classes, and people can start using it. And for the first 10 people, there's going to be lots of good stuff on that page, but for the first 10 people that reach out to us, we will give them a free 30-minute session with either Mary or myself. It's called Breakthrough. Your Life, Your Way Breakthrough Session.
Great. Vince, it's been an absolutely fantastic conversation. I thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming onto the Soul Sync podcast.
You're so welcome, and thanks for having me, and thanks for what you're doing.
Well, there we go. That was the incredible Vince Kramer. What a story. I was gripped there, and I could have spoken to him for a whole lot longer. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. A big thank you for joining me on another enlightening episode of Soul Sync. For more spiritual insights, free meditation downloads, thoughts, my personal book recommendations, and of course the latest updates about Soul Sync, subscribe to my newsletter at jasonpaulmedium.com. Just head straight to the bottom of the page and sign up to stay connected with the soulful community I'm building. If you have suggestions for future episodes, or there's a guest you'd love to see featured, or you might have a story that you'd like to share with our wonderful audience, do email me at hello@jasonpaulmedium.com. Your stories and ideas are the heartbeat of Soul Sync, and your input is invaluable in shaping the soulful conversations I bring to you. I'm Jason Paul. You've been listening to the Soul Sync podcast. Until next time, goodbye.